Here, we do what others don't.
Dream what others won't, driven to leap forward, determined to always give back.
Here, we work where giants have played, where the connection of work and ethic is made.
A diverse community possessed with a passion
To know and grow and go and show the world we are prepared to change it. Here, we ask what must be done, for in doing we learn and earn success.
and you can get there from here.
DePaul University. Here, we do.
We're different here. We don't just get up for another day. We rise. We don't just work. We endeavor. We're women and men, for and with others. We have hope, we believe, and we celebrate. Why are we different?
So we can be the difference.
At Quinnipiac, we see more than a campus. We see a community built to ignite passions. We see more than a degree. We see the careers of tomorrow. We see more than a student. We see someone destined to make an impact.
Our academic and applied esports program provides our competitive gamers a national stage to compete with other Division I universities. Our academic objective allows us to use esports to foster innovative, interdisciplinary connections.
Esports right now is an ever-expanding career field, and having the opportunity to showcase its many facets through education is really inspiring.
That we have lined up, and I gotta tell you, from this first one, it looks like we could see an absolute, I think we could go the entire way, even to overtime.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit of an overview for everyone just tuning in at the top of the show, top of this tournament series. This is a little different if you're maybe familiar with last December, where the EGFC Power Series was all sort of in one weekend. This, we have 3 prelim tournaments and then a final championship tournament that'll be going all throughout this spring semester. So lots of Valorant action and a lot of really, really talented schools coming in. I mean, we've got Wichita and Marquette being our first matchup. Wichita State, incredibly strong. Marquette, they had a good showing at the last Power Series.
So as you can see from our matchups today, we'll be starting off with the Wichita State going against Marquette. Then right after it, William & Mary taking on DePaul, followed up by a second match from William & Mary, catching back up with Marquette University, and finishing off at 7 o'clock, we're going to have DePaul going against Wichita State. So these are going to be 4 crazy matchups, all broadcasted live here, so you guys do not want to miss out. And I got to tell you, Turbo, all 4 of these matchups look like they could easily shape the entire tournament.
Yeah, definitely. All of these games look really, really great. These groups are pretty strong. William & Mary and Marquette, they were in the same group last go-around in the December Power Series, and they were the 2 to make it out of their groups. So, gotta say that they're familiar against each other, but they've got some other pretty tough competition. DePaul barely not making it out in Wichita. I don't believe that they played last series, but I've seen them. They're a strong team. You don't want to mess with them.
Exactly, and going into this first match, we're going to have to see that both these teams are coming out swinging. You don't want to have a slow first game, because although everyone says, oh, the last games are the ones that really matter, every single game counts just as much as the other. Although you can see exactly how all the other teams are doing, if you come out and you're winning all your games, you don't have to worry about those last ones. So if you're looking at Wichita and Marquette for this first matchup, you're going to want to see that they're playing together as a team, and they don't have to warm up with this first match. You have to use this first match to propel them with all that momentum into their second, third, and fourth match of the day.
Exactly. It's making a statement. It's sort of defining themselves as the first match of the group. Well, we're going to be the ones you have to watch out for. So if you can land that early win, it's certainly going to do well for you moving forward in the day. And of course, these are just going to be fun matches to watch, I feel. All of these being really, really great teams, all honestly super competitive. I can't even really say who I expect to win out of this group as they go through their round robin because, William & Mary and Marquette, they were neck and neck last year. Wichita State, they are one of the strongest. They're a super, super strong program. I've seen them go up against other, nationally ranked teams and very, very solid, very scary to watch. And then, of course, the last one in the pool, just going and checking. No, it's actually, and then, DePaul, they're just all really strong teams. I can't say enough about them.
Oh, you're right. Group 1 is looking quite stacked, and we can try to hyper-analyze all these teams, but to be quite frank, we just don't have enough information to be able to say, oh, I think this team is going to be able to come out of the bracket just winning. We're not able to set up that underdog story just yet for you guys, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to. We'll be able to really see exactly how things pan out, but here you go. We got our bands. On the band side from Wichita State, we got Fracture and Ascent, and on Marquette, Breeze and Haven, and that means we're going to be headed over to Haven if I'm reading this map band correct, Turbo?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. We'll double check those graphics. If we are heading over to Haven, very fun, explosive map. I mean, it has been from the start. We get confirmation from our producer. It is Haven that we are heading to. So it might have been that last, it was sort of band 3, pick 1. I've got a feeling it might have been along those lines. As Haven, I feel, is a make or break, especially in a best of 1, where if you're confident, you're feeling good about this map, with about the 3 bomb sites. If you have a good strategy lined up, it'll work. But if you fall behind, it can be really tough to break through with just how much diversity there is in this map.
Especially on that attacking side, if a team is unable to get those rotates, or a team on the defending side, if we see, let's look at the A site, you have players pushing up to long, and in this absence of a flank watch, or just overcommitting to your first push on the attacking side, you have the defenders go for 3-2, so 2 on mid, and they're able to sweep right in behind you through B. Then you have no way to rotate back. You're kind of trapped along A long as well as sewers. You'll be completely trapped all within that area, and there's very little you can do to escape. You're going to have to play for your picks, but once again, you're pinched. So especially on Haven on the attacking side, you want to make sure you're able to rotate and have ease of access to each part of the map depending on the way the match evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely need to be having that flexibility, seeing how the opponents play. If they're very, very aggressive on defense, maybe you go more towards default, or if the opposite is true, then maybe you just start rushing it up. But going on to Haven, it's very untraditional, and sometimes it leads to some untraditional team compositions. I was wondering, Binks, do you have any sort of ideas on what approaches these teams are going to have moving into Haven? I feel Sova's a must, but everyone else can sort of be left to interpretation.
I want to see at least an Astra or Omen. I feel like you're going to really need some controllers here. Now, of course, we can say, well, what about Brim? Unfortunately, Brim just doesn't have the utility that we would really be looking for. And if you look at Astra, her ability to smoke long, if we keep looking at this A push, because we've already started to diagnose it so much, and just dive into it, you can look at A long, you're able to smoke Heaven, while also concussing all these commonly checked corners. You have Plant, which you can then assist with your smokes. It just works a lot better. It's the 2 smokes that Omen would still have, while you're still able to trigger them and have them there and ready. And whenever you see a star as a defender, or even as an attacker, and you're in its radius, you have to admit you are a little bit concerned, especially when you hear the footsteps of an opponent approaching.
Yeah, definitely. Those stars, they're just such a threat, I feel, where you have the flexibility. You can smoke, you can pull that little whirlpool, as I like to call it, and the concussion as well. You have so many options that Astra has, and it means you have to tread lightly when you're stepping forward. So we're going to see if Astra is that sort of controller of choice. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on Viper on Haven. I feel that she is flexible, but can be very difficult to utilize.
I think you have to have a really good idea to the point where on your team, because luckily this is a 5-stack, this isn't our competitive games where we're saying like, oh, what is our Viper doing? Why is this line here? Why is it going up? You actually have that amazing communication So I think that if you have the Viper and you know exactly what lineup is going to be put out, you can use that to great effect, and it could make a massive difference for the team. So I'm a yes for Viper. I don't know if Neon's on the board, but I'm also a huge Neon fan here on Haven.
Yeah, as am I. I think Neon, she's so fast, honestly. And with how this map plays a lot of the time, that speed is very well rewarded. As we've got, first lock-ins, there's the Astra we mentioned, there's the Sova for Dog, and on the other side, it looks like there is the Astra Hover, and Chamber sort of getting picked up as the Sentinel of choice, at least I've noticed across the last couple months since his release, and I was wondering what your thoughts are on a map like Haven, where it really did feel like sometimes Killjoy's playground, because she could just lock it down so well, and the occasional Cypher with the flexibility.
Well, let's look at the counters to Killjoy, and I think that will give us our answer. Sova, most prominently, we start to see his Hunter's Fury not being used to take a site or to stop denial, and sure, it still has that type of utility, but the moment that lockdown goes down and it will completely mess up an attacker defense, you hear Sova call out for his Hunter's Fury and take that Killjoy's lockdown right on out. Or you see someone take the breach. There goes Killjoy's lockdown, especially on Fracture. That's a good instance I can think of because Killjoy's so potent. On Fracture, you just completely use this Aftershock, and it's gone. That util doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's sort of ever since the ability for Killjoy's utility to get destroyed by other opponents' utility, she's sort of fallen down the ranks as far as priority. And Chamber, with just his arsenal of weapons, has really risen up as Marquette and Wichita, nearly identical team compositions, just Marquette going the slightly more aggressive route with the Reyna start, and Wichita going for the Sky, sort of double duelist versus double initiator.
Exactly. As we hop into this game, we are going to be able to see, and correct me if I am wrong here, we're going to have Marquette on defense as well as Wichita State on attack. So I think that we should be able to see Wichita State come in for this first round as the aggressors. They're really looking to make a solid stance because the defense, they have nothing to go on. They're going to be guessing exactly how Wichita is going to be playing much more adaptively.
Yeah, definitely going to be on that sort of adaptive style, but there are opportunities to be a little more aggressive as we're starting to see where Marquette wants to place themselves for defense, and it's some pretty standard stuff. Throw the Sova on C, get the Chamber on A, and have have Jet play flexible up around mid. It looks like just a quick mid push out of Wichita State. And Atsu forced to back up as just quick control game. Nothing that Wichita could really do. It's Source finding the first kill for Wichita's. Marquette is just falling behind. Croatified, though, takes down Jeem, and now we've sort of entered the retake phase, and the plant might be problematic for Marquette.
This has been a very good take. Spike's already down, but they are attempting to get this defuse. If they are to get to half, it could be a big turning point for the round, but a huge flank from Thiessen. Blind will not be successful, but with all the shots, the diversion is exactly what they needed as we're down to the 1v1. The Chamber of a Pizza Source is going to have to swing out with a classic in hand and Atsu to win it out. And with more than enough time, Marquette will take the first round.
Yeah, Marquette taking the first round, barely surviving. I mean, both Atsu and Pizza Source, they were so low. And those are the kind of moments where just being able to form up and land that one shot you need is so crucial. As Marquette, they get the first round, likely going to force up here. We see the Marshall Spectres coming out, and Thiessen getting that Sheriff with the money from that really beautiful flank that nearly brought it all back for Wichita.
If you really look at the way they rotate around, and I do believe that they did come in through Garage. No, yeah, I do believe it was through Garage, or whichever obscure route they took. Just the ability to get behind your opponents that early in the game, and it could make a massive difference. And you can tell they planned for it, because the Frenzy is not the kind of gun you're going to use if you're going to be going for some close up encounter. You're trying to get that unexpected flank on someone because of that fire rate that you have access to.
Source holding down with the Chamber pistol. Does spot out a Dog on that Sova, but overall, just a pretty plain default after Atsu went down so early.
This is interesting. It's a really slow push so far, and we're really seeing all the players on Wichita State really waiting. Since they lost that opening pick of their Jet, that is their primarily use of entry. That's their duelist. And now they have to rotate. We do see a big bunch of them set up on this C long, but with the Astra Stars in play, all the setups of Marquette, it looks like they are more than ready to adapt to this. Reyna, I want to highlight right now, is they're rotating all the way towards C. I think they could be a very pivotal role in stopping this entire C push.
Yeah, I completely agree. His dog did spot out. I believe that was Jeem, and now here comes the push, and it's not going to matter. Everyone gets sucked in, and everyone goes down to Patron as a pretty clean round for Marquette, only losing one.
I think that's exactly what you want to see there. It's a very good reading. You could see Marquette slowly rotating their players. They didn't want to do it too hastily, because the moment you move your players too hastily and the attackers catch wind of that, it's all over, especially on Haven, because they're going to go right to the other site, and once again, roles are swapped, except the defenders now have to retake a site with a lot less utility and a lot less time to do so. So a frag fest on C is exactly what you want to see if you're a Marquette fan. And of the double stars there, that gravity well that you mentioned, that we both saw at the end of the round, completely made everyone vulnerable. So basically the 2 shots and they're gone, as well as they had no ability to reconcile. They're still blocked from the line of sight of the smoke. So the spray there was completely calculated.
Yeah, it just all came together incredibly well. I'm sure the comms were just popping well, and then fire, like shoot, 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 as now Otsu once again looking for a pick, does get some good damage down onto Sky, as now Patron finds one, dismisses away, might be able to escape just barely, and Jeem not able to find the refrag, but Pizzasaurus goes crazy on C site, as that A push was a bit of a diversion for Wichita as they're getting control, and Thiessen finding Otsu. That's a big pick-off, and Marquette left with only 2 remaining.
Now in the retake, all of the attackers have a general idea where they're going to be coming from. You can see the defensive positions they've now taken along long. If you look, you have the Sova shock dart in order to deny, as well as these 3 different abilities to blind. Chamber could have his ability to slow them down, knowing exactly when to push, and you also have this guy who can just blind, and it's just 3 players who are so brilliantly able to work together, including the Astro Gravity Well. Pizzasaurus, though, to find the chamber, and now the lone Reyna of Patron. I don't think there's anything they can do. Best you can do here, save, maybe try to get a pick off them rotating back, but you got the Astro watching mid, and there you go. Jeem playing the safe angle will work out.
Yeah, Jeem getting that last gun out of their hands, but honestly, Marquette probably didn't want it too badly. It was just a Spectre, as at times that, you know, gun deficiency, being on SMGs as opposed to rifles in that 3rd round can make it the bonus very, very difficult. But here we're going to get that first true gun round. Marquette investing in the op for Otsu makes sense. Already seen him on the Marshall, and very, very strong on snipers.
Hitting his shots. I wish we could see a quick statistic, but I do believe that they have hit almost every single shot that they have fired when they have fired with a target. But regardless, we also see the chamber op coming out here. So I think the tour de force could be the perfect way to counter any sort of op, especially considering that it's the proficiency of a Marshall, but the power of more than an op.
Yeah, it's easily, you know, the strongest sniper in the game. Makes sense why it's an ultimate, as first pick goes the way of Wichita as they take a site. Now Pizzasaurus just going to sort of camp out. Back by Long is now Patron looking to be the first one to enter site. This is a tricky situation to try and push into, as Wichita State, they can just sit back and wait. Smoke's used, and so are some of the shock darts. That gravity well not doing enough on Otsu, but Steve-O and Dog takes those out from sewers, and now Otsu, bit of a body block, finds one on Kava, and now Pizzasaurus left lacking. Quick 2 kills, and now it's just up to Jeem. Finds Patron with a stick down, does pull through for Marquette, and a little close at the end, but Steve-O cleans it up.
Steve did a really good job there, and you could see how, especially, we mentioned the Astra at the start of the game, and I think the #1 agent we have seen so very prominently in each and every single one of these rounds is the Astra, and we have to credit both these players, of Steve-O as well as Jeem, as they have both been pivotal players thus far in being able to set their team up to be able to go for an execute or a retake, no matter what it is. In every single opportunity, they are playing the support role to a T, and to be honest, you can make so many great examples out of them.
Yeah, you certainly can, as Croatify flashed off of Long, and now Thiessen coming up to lead this push with the Seekers. Croatify forced to swap out to the Classic and forced all the way back. Great Divide is dropped by the side of Marquette.
Spike planted.
Now, Wichita trying to hold on the site. Do get the plant down. And it's going to be tough to push into with that Great Divide blocking off so much space, but Kaba doesn't care. Finds Crowdfind. Here comes the big push. Lear already gone, and Jeems goes crazy. Really, the entire Wichita roster finding kills as Thiessen gets the last 2.
That was absolutely explosive, and I think it really demonstrates the power of the Cosmic Divide. It cuts off the angles that you don't want to see. You basically have your ears taken away. I think if you were to imagine a Viper wall and how you hate how you can't see past it, you take damage, forget the damage. You can't hear anything on the other side. One of the favorite plays I've seen, I think is circulated around, was just an Astra player setting up the Astra wall right next to the corner of Diffuser, and as soon as it was set up, they just started to stick the defuse, but if you're on the side of the attackers, you have no way of knowing.
Yeah, it's very true, as it looks like Marquette trying to be a little aggressive to make it work. Atsu does find one on a Jean, but that investment of the Blade Storm really not panning out, as it feels more like a hero buy, as Patron just gonna get ran down, and Wichita even things up.
I want to take a look. We had a quick look at exactly where the deaths were that round. It was very much scattered all over B, and it was quite reminiscent of what we saw in the very first round, where it was a big aggressive push towards B. And that's where you can really start to see the adaptations Wichita State is making. They are starting to be able to recognize the different kinds of pushes and how they're able to counter them by being able to push and just funnel all of their resources to exactly the exact position they need to be, because we had people dying in courtyard as well as the garage entrance, all from different swings that Wichita State was once again in control of.
Yeah, absolutely. So now it looks like a little bit of trading out of mid. Jeem and Atsu trading shots, and Pizzasaurus taking down Atsu. It's a good start for Wichita, as now Stevo trying to slow things down, but Marquette really struggling once these gun rounds have began, as Thiessen finding some space off of the Trailblazer. Patron with this Empress could be deadly.
Exactly what you want to see, but now this push in through garage will be briefly shut down by Dogs. Swinging around, they're going to have to prevent everything along C long, but that won't be successful, as all of Marquette has control of C. They just have to make sure to make it work.
Yeah, they have to try and make it work, and Patron able to do quite a bit. And now the last player standing no longer has access to that Empress, just one heal left. Playing game of chicken, it seems, with Jeem. And this is very, very close. Shots just grazing past. Actually, Jeem goes into astral form and forces the cross from Patron, and Kaba cleans it up.
It was a very clean push. I'm interested that we actually got to see such a different style of play on C. What I want to see more on the side of Wichita now is their ability to rotate site to site to site. I want them to try to play with Marquette just a little bit more, if that makes sense. I want them to try to play within the mine games, because it seems like Marquette is sort of starting to have a little bit more of a read on what is going on from round to round.
Yeah, but when Truman just wins the duel against Croatify, that is a painful pick to give up at the start of a round. As Pizzasaurus just making a little space around mid, is there's just so much pressure being exerted by Wichita, and Marquette, they're just on a save, can't do much about it. Now Atsu fires at the Trailblazer, can't do much about that. And Thiessen likely going to find this kill. Kaba actually gets Stevo with the Hunter's Fury, and spray through the smoke, going to get the job done, as once again, it's all left up to Patron, and they know he's there, firing away, and this feels like a bullet hell until eventually that last headshot comes through from Pizzasaurus, and another clean round from Wichita, building up that bank.
I mean, what can you do there? This is probably the hardest part in the game, where we're getting towards the 8th, 9th round. And if I'm being completely honest, that's where you start to see the attackers in most scenarios have such a big advantage. First of all, in their econ and how much they have in their bank account, as well as their ability to maneuver around the site. Every time those first few rounds, you're just more feeling the waters, but now they should be comfortable. They should know exactly how they want to be pushing, where they should be looking, the calmly checked angles. And we're going to see this possibly along C-Long with these different pushes. Truman to find the first kill onto Dog, and that's Sova, a big pick for Wichita.
Yeah, a huge pick, sort of removing the eyes of Marquette. They don't have that second initiator that Wichita State has access to, so really no more of an information game outside of what little Chamber can provide as far as his traps. But this is looking very, very good for Wichita, as it feels like they've started to figure out Marquette a little more. And Patron walks into the crosshair of Pizzasaurus. And you have to remember, this is a best of one for the group stage. So you win this game, you clock a W in the score, and otherwise you don't have that space to mess up and bring it back in game 2.
Pushing now into sight, we have the plant on to B, and now one defender remaining, the loathsome Chamber. The Protify will quickly fall in a flawless round once again from Wichita State, and it seems like they just have everything figured out.
It really does feel like they've got everything figured out. They, lost the first couple rounds, and it's expected to lose number 2 after you lose number 1 from the pistol, as their very aggressive push didn't quite work. But ever since then, it's really felt like it's all Wichita. This team, we mentioned how they are very strong contender in a very strong bracket, and this is starting to become a statement. But we still have to remember it's Haven and their attacker side.
So if you are on the defenders, you're probably wondering, like, hey, what would be a good split to get out of this? What am I really looking for? And that would be, this is me being optimistic, you're maybe looking for maybe a maybe looking for a 5 to 7 split. That's normally a comfortable range to be sitting at. Anything like a 6-6, and you're sitting very comfortably going into the attacker side. You just want to have the more of a differential, maybe 2-round differential going into the attacking half, knowing that you have the capability and you have the round differential to be able to work with moving into the other side.
Yeah, but then you also have to remember there is, of course, the sort of infamous 9-3 curse, and Dog finding a kill onto Thiessen. So Marquette just trying to, I think, figure this one out right here, right now, as members traded on both teams. Astra was spotted out by Dog, so
deploying drones
is, an awkward position, I think, for both, but 40 seconds left, and Marquette, I'd say, considering they lost someone, they lost the Reyna, probably your least impactful member utility-wise.
If you're looking at the side of Wichita, they're clearly going to be going for their push along C-Long. They're probably going to try to disguise it as A, especially what this push does. You can see the Astra rotating in through Garage. They hear the Chamber. They don't know what's happening, but look at this working brilliantly. The Sova already still having to watch B. Astra being the lone defender on C. And there you go. The jig could easily be up as Jeem gets the kill. Replant with 10 seconds. It will be successful. Now Hunter's Fury could deny it. It's in the line of sight. 4 seconds. 2, 1, and it will miss out. And in the nick of time, Jeem will be able to capture it. And now, the dying seconds of the round, it is all left up to the lone Sova.
Yeah, and Dog nearly with, I think, the play of the game right there for sure. As if that Hunter's Fury lands onto the Astra, that's it. That's the round over. There's no time to plant. But some micro-maneuvering, I think it was, from Jeem, I believe. Yeah, made it work. And just barely dodging away from that Hunter's Fury. And Marquette, good effort, but Wichita just squeezing water from Stone.
That is essential. That round could be a massive turning point, because that's the 7 rather than the 4 to 6, which is exactly what Marquette wanted. But we have to highlight that brilliant use of the Cosmic Divide. We saw all 4 players shift completely away from that C site, and it really opened the door for such a brilliant push.
Yeah, that is very, very true. As now we're seeing trades go back and forth. Jeem finds Patron. So again, Wichita just always on top of these trades.
Spike planted.
As Marquette, they're struggling to find answers, and Wichita's just gotten completely into stride. Spots out Steve-O in that astral form, and Thiessen finding the kill on the Gratify, making life tougher and tougher. Are going to commit the astral divide, and this feels like they're grasping for a lot, grasping at straws with just 2 members left. A Dog trying to find something, but Wichita not getting any information.
This is really nice. You saw the wait with the blind. They waited for the information and they just explode the moment that anything comes their way. And you can really see that there where you had the Sky of Thiessen just waiting on the other side of the Cosmic Wall because you have those constant comms. Once again, that disadvantage to solo queue and you don't get to talk to your teammate, but in this scenario, it's all 5 players playing together with brilliant communication and just having that bird come flying right through from an angle you would never expect just adds so much potency and allows them to go for such a prominent and successful push.
Yeah, as now Marquette backs against the wall. They want to try and pick up that 4th round. Now, if you're superstitious, you might say, just throw it. You get the 93 first and you'll come back. But still, you want to throw everything you have at it. It's a pretty scrappy buy. Some Guardians and a Bulldog for Marquette. Meanwhile, Wichita, everything they could want. As Dog just forced to completely give up sight. Wichita in complete control, forcing the
Spike planted.
This is a very interesting plant spot, and it looks like they are going to have to force a lot of things here. First shot with the 2-4s from a Pizzasaurus will connect onto Dog. Now Patron, as well as his comrades, are going to be funneling in through defender side spawn. Gene just waiting for the time to pounce. Will shut down the ult, refrag by Stevo, and now is locked down to a 3v4. Make that a 3v3 as Marquette is trying to make something of this round.
Yeah, they're fighting back as trying to find in this duel. Thiessen just gets caught on the timing as Pizzasaurus with a lockdown of this site misses the shot. Thiessen finding Stevo, but Atsu still alive, not for much longer as Thiessen finishes it off. And Wichita State take this half 9-3.
Thiessen clearly being the cleanup king for this first half. Is I believe we saw so many of the rounds won by Wichita just completely decided by Thiessen coming through with a final frag or even assisting that final frag with the blind. So major props to the Sky player on the side of Wichita State, but now the sides have switched. The 9-3 curse could be in effect, but what means more? Is it the 9-3 curse or the caster's curse? I think that's something we have to start wondering. Which one has more weight in the game? And I think we are about to figure this out. But on the side of Marquette, being the attacking team, they have to be the ones to set this pace. They can't allow the confidence that Wichita has to shape any more rounds. They have to go and make the move now.
Well, we're going to have to see if something happens. A good smoke timing from Marquette as Steve is sort of blocking that off, I believe. Or maybe it was Wichita slowing things down, but regardless, Pizzasaurus just missing that timing. As here comes the execute. Oh, a quick headshot onto one, looking for more. Gene cleans up the rest, and 3 members from Marquette already taken down. Make it 4 from Thiessen. Loving that frenzy as Gratify around the corner finds Pizzasaurus, but from behind, Truman finishes it off. Wichita State get the first round, and it looks like they could get this game.
Especially 10-3 to go. It seems very doable. And you can see, look at the buying power here. You don't want to give them the opportunity to get around. You're just going to look to force. And it's not even a full buy. We see a full buy from Pizzasaurus, which makes sense. Chamber with the, oh my goodness, it's blanket on me now. The Guardian. I was thinking of the Infantry Guardian. I'm like, all right, it's the Infantry. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. But regardless, especially with Chamber on the Guardian, it's a very powerful thing. And you might say, hey, why don't they just use the Headhunter? Unfortunately, the Guardian is still just that much better, and it's a lot more comfortable, and it gives them the opportunity to switch that Headhunter should they really need it in the event of a reload.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you those options. As now, Marquette, they've got to do something. Already so much damage coming down from the sprays through. No one dies, but Patron on the brink of death as Certify taken down by Jeem, and once these smokes expire, it's going to be Wichita rushing through as Kaba does what he can. Takes down 1, but doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Thiessen does clean up that kill. Kaba well on the Atsu. Now Stevo, really the lone defender, as Patron's trying to find some way in, but that slow's going to be too strong, and even though Jeem goes down to the pistol of Patron, Pizzasaurus finds the last kill.
A good thing to highlight that round is actually going to be Marquette's attack. It was clearly a B intention, but the response from Wichita State was very clear and prominent. They didn't want to go aggressive into B. They set themselves up right at the B connector leading towards B hallway or B link towards A. They set themselves up to hold the cross should they get extra aggressive. And that's where we saw the spike actually get down from that little passive aggressive angle. And there was also the cross. You had the Aster playing in garage. And it just really worked like a well-oiled machine. And even on the side of Marquette, they kept on focusing on B when they had already done the job of maneuvering to absorb any sort of information they needed.
Yeah, as you know, one highlight for Marquette is they do have the gun advantage here, and still Wichita State not really caring, finding mostly positive trades and keeping this to just a one-member deficit. But Truman on the Marshall gonna have a tough time, I think, doing all that much, as Marquette looks to put a round on the board and really just playing as safely as possible.
I think slow play is exactly what you want to do. You want to sneak up, get an unexpected angle, unexpected rifle. And you want to be the one to be taking the gunfight rather than receiving it. And there's Atsu to show exactly why. Plant now to go down over on the C site. Now the jet of Truman is on the flank. They have a Marshall in hand, and if they take the right route, they should be able to find a rifle. We'll be able to spot out the Oni Phantom, probably one of the best skins in the game. Swinging around towards garage, we'll be able to spot out the jet. Take them out. They did have the Guardian, and this is lethal. The remaining 2 players are now stuck on long. They have the stars to play alongside. Tapping it, it forces one to swing out. He'll be able to spot out the head of Crotify. And now, second tap. They have to swing this one. They're going to have to swing together, but they go for more of a staggered, and it will work out. Crotify to find the headshot. And once again, Marquette staying alive for one more round.
Marquette staying alive indeed. But we do have to remember that was still the bonus for Wichita. They did not have full guns. And here I think will be the real test where Phantoms and Vandals across the board for both teams. And I believe Wichita spent a little more than maybe they wanted to last round. Didn't go for that more complete save. So a couple light armors and not necessarily full utility on everyone. But same is true for Marquette, where they lost so many bodies, they had to reinvest quite a bit.
These are the pivotal points in the round. And if we look, statistically even, the opening pick can determine so much, especially when that opening pick is essential. And look, that's an example of learning from your previous mistakes. We saw that the Astros playing aggressive. Good that they aren't anymore, because surely that shock dart would have found them. But potentially, we could see them rotate right back up. And if they do, that could be a perfect hiding spot as Reyna is looking towards pushing into garage.
Yeah, but not much has been found yet. Marquette looking to push into B, maybe find some of that site-taking success that we saw in the first round. While they weren't able to win the round, they at the very least had some very, very solid takes. Jeem doesn't care to push forward. Neither does Atsu. Finds Truman, finds Jeem! And a quick 2 kills from the Jet of Marquette do so much damage onto Wichita. As it looks like this is still just a delayed B bait, as the actual bomb is heading towards C site, but Pizzasaurus finding that kill might prove troubling as Patron gets Thiessen, and that's a very big player to take off the board. This guy getting rid of the flashes. Pizzasaurus goes out of Patron. Atsu finds Kaba, and Marquette certainly showing signs of life.
What I really like about that round was the slow and methodical nature that Marquette took. The slow push from Reyna pushing it to B, a perfect hole, I might add. A perfect hole pushing it to B, and when you have a push going out on C and having a player just waiting on B, unknown to the defenders, that could easily change the round, especially when you saw them rotating in towards the B link to C and checking garage. Exactly what you want to see, and it was a perfect pinch from the other players. Although they did lose, I want to say, the Sova inside of garage, that's exactly the way to shut things down.
Yeah, and they're looking for more as Jeem and Kaba finding a couple of kills with the Sheriffs. And this is proving troubling for Marquette. They got the gun advantage, but hasn't turned into much yet. So now Steve-O spraying down. Pizzasaurus used that tour de force, and actually in a 1v2 with that tour de force, not too terrible. Should be able to pick up a rifle as well as Marquette move over to this A site and lock it down.
So in the chamber, he has to have a 100% shot accuracy with those 2 shots, but luckily he hits them anywhere on the body without penetration, and it should do the job. But he has not been able to find a rifle, and that could be a very hard challenge to overcome. Swinging out the cross angle, won't be able to check 2, and Patron will be able to find them, and that's now 6-11. As it does look like Marquette has a bit of fight left in them.
Yeah, they're building some momentum, and here we're seeing a timeout come through for Wichita, I believe. So, showing that, you know, they are struggling a little bit to adapt to how Marquette has been changing up their attack style.
I think that if you are in the position of Wichita, then you want to, I understand they were on a save run, and it almost worked out with the aggressiveness, but they got 2 and they continue to push on. I think you need to get those 2 kills and do what would work so well in my bronze lobbies. You want to just go and hide in a corner. That will work just well, but especially in this scenario, you want to play the man advantage. Especially on Marquette, they lost a lot there. The remaining 2 players at the very end, I believe it was Chamber and either Astra or Reyna. I can't remember too well. I think it was the Reyna. You want to play to that man advantage and play for those cross angles. Something that did so well at establishing on attack. You want to try to do the same on defense, where you want to play. And yes, they didn't get the spike down. They didn't know where it was, meaning that that aggression was credited. But I want to look. We had the Jet pushing into their spawn through a Cloudburst and a Dash. That just seemed like a very free kill, especially since they were already able to recover a rifle.
Yeah, I completely agree. And a couple mistakes here and there, but still, Wichita in a commanding lead, though it's getting broken down every single round. As Atsu just takes the ego duel onto Truman. Might not be ready for Kaba here, though, as they're... definitely aren't expecting it, but Atsu wisely finds an escape and a beautiful one-tap to find 2. And now it's up to Gratified to try and find more, but fight matters. Patron does get the refrag. Now Thiessen dancing around with Dog as off-screen Pizzasaurus found Patron, so we're back to a 2v2.
Interesting enough here, do you know that there is a cosmic divide on the side of Marquette, and as you can hear in your ear, the Seekers being deployed by Wichita State, and that will tell them exactly the location to split up the distance between them. We know that there's one window based on when it gets destroyed, and one right at the link, so that gives you a precise positioning. And look, rather than just holding a site, we see that they're going more aggressive along a long, just trying to check things out, even able to spot out the Sova. This shows how trapped Marquette is. They're choosing where to go, and if they make the read properly, we should be able to see Wichita State start rotating towards the C site very, very soon.
Yeah, and that Cosmic Divide will likely indicate to Wichita that this is not going to be an A hit. I think maybe they saw a glance of the Sova off the Trailblazer, but with them committing so hard to A site, it's not going to work out. And honestly, unless they were expecting this to be some sort of major bait of a Cosmic Divide, I would have liked to see a rotation much earlier.
It is exactly what they did in the first half, so it could be them expecting what they normally do, which is a common thing, but with the way the wall is set up, it didn't favor A site whatsoever, which would not have been the smartest Cosmic Divide. Now, if you did notice, Soba got his Hunter's Fury just from being able to get that plant down. And here it comes out as they hop on. They have the pings just waiting on the spike. Maybe they needed a tiny bit too early, as they will now be able to start jumping onto it, trying to get this defuse.
Oh, nice gravity well, but Thiessen, despite being very, very low, still finding a shot. That is a tough position. Forced to prioritize the diffuser, and Dog finds both, as Marquette are stringing these together.
You know where the RGX Vandal is the best Vandal skin in the game?
Why?
Because whenever you shoot it at an indestructible surface, the same reason why people claim that Blastex is the best one, because you have to see what penetrates and what doesn't. The same with RGX, the color. So for example, yellow, if they were to shoot at the wall right in front of them, you would see a clear yellow outline of what goes through and what does not. And that you know exactly when you're making wall penetration with the Vandal, and it makes it the perfect gun for being able to go for those long penetration shots.
Yeah, it's sort of it's like a meta pick at this point, you know, you sort of get that slight tactical advantage if you don't have everything memorized, as Steve-O, a little bit of a duel with Thiessen, does get that jiggle peek, and Wichita State once again forced to save. Sheriffs in their hands, and we know how deadly they can be with those, but still have to be cautious if you are Marquette. Have some nice approach, and taking down Pizzasaurus is a good start. Truman did commit the Blade Storm, so we're going to see if this can find any value.
It will all come down to whether or not Patron will be able to get this first pick, because with that dismiss, they can swing out and try to find that other member. A very quick sting. Atsu has been proven time and time again. He has such a good ability to go and swing and get those quick headshots. Now Truman onto the site, Bladestorm to find one, looking for two. He finds them, nearly finding the third, but that severely cuts down the abilities of Marquette. And now on the A's site, it's going to be the Chamber trying to hold things down as Jeem and Thiessen rotating to make their approach.
They're on their way. We got to remember how low Thiessen is from those engages with Patron. Now Cardify going to be that first point of attack, and it does look like Dog's on the backside. He finds one, but they weren't expecting Dog, but Jeem with the headshot shuts down Marquette's momentum.
This feels like it is over, but it indeed is not. That may just be the thrifty round that they needed, but they only get one rifle out of it. I mean, they should be able to theoretically buy, but it is not guaranteed for every one of them. But here's the important part. As you just heard, it is now match points for Wichita State, and they have that extra boost. They have now that utility and the buying power in order to, hopefully, on their end, propel them towards the end of this match.
Yeah, and on the other side, Marquette are going to have a full buy. Atsu opting for the Blade Storm instead of a rifle, which will work just fine. As, honestly, standout was really just Truman going crazy last round. Getting those 2 headshots, I thought they would have gotten all 3, and I would have been terrified. And Jeem finding Atsu, that is a big pick.
They didn't even have a chance to activate that Blade Storm, and now that is 3 picks within the first 30 seconds, all favoring Wichita State. They have the Dog to basically drawn out Steve-O, and now these remaining 2 players are so very trapped.
Yeah, they're completely trapped. Pizzasaurus finds one. It's all up to Steve-O. It would have to be a 1v5 ace to keep Marquette alive in this game. Does find Jeem, looks for more. Pizzasaurus so low. Let's take that one down. Just 36 health left. Already tagged by the Owl Drone. It feels like just a matter of time as everyone's dancing around, and Thiessen from the back does clean things up for Wichita. And after a scary string of rounds for Marquette, Wichita cleans it up. So it appears Caster Curse maybe is a little stronger than the 9-3 Curse.
I think so. We saw it go back and forth. We had a bit of fun trying to see which one it was really going to be. But at the end of the day, it does look like Wichita just really showed up to this first game. And that does not mean that Marquette did not do anything well. They had so many great things going for them. We saw their ability to rotate, and especially to get those frags. Their ability to push onto site for those, I think it was 4 or 3 consecutive rounds, was just unmatched. They were really doing a proficient job clearing out Wichita and really using their utility. That Cosmic Divide, the Hunter's Fury, that's ultimates used in their rawest form and used with such great effectiveness. And if they had just a few more ultimates, or those early picks from Wichita did not come out, we could have easily seen a different game.
Yeah, I definitely think we could have. We said before show that this one could have gone to overtime. It certainly felt like it as Marquette did start to heat up, but they just didn't make those adjustments fast enough and unfortunately did go down. But Wichita, great showing for the start of the day as we're going to get a peek at the rest of the teams in this first group as William & Mary versus DePaul is up next. But we will be, as we take a look at the schedule, I believe here it is. And we will be heading over to break very shortly as William & Mary versus DePaul coming up soon here on EGF2 as we continue our coverage of the EGF Power Series.